And the monthly rent, 3,400, which will give us a monthly profit of 1,510. And then once this is all up and running, the ongoing cash flow generated will be 15,800 per month. Learn, practice, execute and review. That's what we used to do on a weekly basis. So we'd learn about what opposition we're going to be playing at the weekend. We'd then be out on the training ground practicing. We'd then go execute on a weekend on game day. And then we'd sit back down on a Monday morning and we'd review that, what went right, what went wrong, what can we improve. And it's very much what I take into the property stuff as well.
To move on to our next case study, someone you might have already heard about. Let's hear it from Martyn Woolford.
Hi, I'm Martyn Woolford, and I really am over the moon to be up here speaking as a top performer today. It really does mean a lot to me to be acknowledged for something that is way out of my original skill set. Does really mean the world to me. Now, most people in the room and a lot of people at home will have already heard my story, so I've sort of been racking my brains of how to make it that little bit more interesting, a little bit different, and touch on a few different points to what you're used to hearing. So if this works, I want to start with this.
Murphy's come up from the back here, and he's the target for this, and he's won it too. Sparrow plays it back in there. Hayes' shot was blocked. Woolford, yes! Scunthorpe United lead by 3 goals to 2 with 5.
That's that's for Tom more than anything. I didn't think you'd believe me that I'd scored at Wembley, Tom. I actually got 2 assists and the man of the match as well. I'll send you the clip. For everybody that were at Strategy Implementation Live, you'll recognise this slide. I spoke openly about my football career. That was me at 23 years old. I went on to then play championship football for the rest of my 20s. And I touched on that I was lucky enough to earn some good money out of the game. What I did with that money, 90% gave to a financial advisor. The other 10% started the property journey. Dived into that. I then touched on where the learning began and how my mind shifted around that. And then I'm always open and honest about the fact that at one point in my life I was facing bankruptcy. Thanks to the financial advisor, losing every single penny of the money that I gave to him. I then touched on the Mastermind Accelerator and what that did for the property journey before retiring from professional football in 2019. Still played part-time, but retired there, which then freed up my time to go to join Mastermind. And I spoke about some of the deals, which I'm going to touch on in a minute. And I also spoke about my reason why, which has never changed. It's actually my eldest birthday today, so if missing that to be here doesn't get me a vote, I don't know what will. But I speak about an extended version of this on the pin circuit as well, and I think because I speak about it quite casually and quite freely, I think it paints over the fact that of 2 things. I think it gives the impression that it weren't actually that bad, and I think it gives the impression that it were all in the past. Well, when I was at Fleetwood Town, which is the second picture along from the right-hand side at the bottom and on the football slide, I found out that every single penny that I'd given to the financial advisor, all my savings had basically been taken away from me. That same season, I had the only bad injury I've had in my career. I had to pull medial ligament off the bone, which meant that I missed 90% of that season. I'd also turned 33, which is really old in football. And then, so coming to the end of that season, the offers were no longer where they were. Grimsby Town were nice enough to give me a contract. But to give you a bit of context, my wages actually dropped almost 6 times. My mortgage at the time were 4.5 grand. My current wages weren't even covering the mortgage, let alone the couple of cars that I had on the drive, the best gym memberships, the highest Sky package, all these other liabilities that you can rack up. So I was in serious trouble. I got to work stripping those liabilities away, but it takes time. You can't just send cars back at the click of a finger. You can't just sell your family house. So we're in this huge pressure pot, and that had a really big impact on 2 big relationships in my life. My marriage was one of those, and for a number of other reasons, this adding to all that, that kind of went its separate ways, which again has more financial implications. And I also had a business partner. My role in that business originally was the funding. I could no longer hold up my end of the bargain, so again, for a number of other reasons, but that adding to it, we decided to go our separate ways. again, more financial implications. So I got this portfolio of roughly about 10 properties, not a bad little portfolio, but I'm having to take chunks off it to pay people off here, there. But I was trying my hardest to get this portfolio together. So I decided the best thing to do is to just try and pay as much as I can off from the cash flow. So every bit of that portfolio will go into paying people off. But what that meant is I had no money. The income from football was dropping rapidly. So I really was coming into Mastermind. It really was it was the only way I knew two things: football and property. Football I had no control of. That were inevitably coming to an end. The property side of things, I thought, right, I can see what can be achieved in property. So that is where I'm turning my focus and the reason why I joined Mastermind. So I thought long and hard about it to start with, like, what is my strategy? That is commercial to residential, and the reasons for that is I had no money. I knew I was going to have to work with other people. So there's bigger margins that make it easier to work with joint venture partners and investors. I'd already got experience in that area, so I was just coming to the end of a project just as we're going into Mastermind, so I could open the door, say to potential investors and partners, come and have a look, this is what we're doing, this is what I started with, so it gave me a bit of credibility. But it also gave me the opportunity to build the relationships and see if they're people that also, they want to work with me and also I want to work with them. I'd identified that there were high opportunity, low competition. The property that I just spoke about there, it had been on the market for ages and I just sort of stumbled across it and it went on for really cheap. So I went and snapped it up. But I was asking the question of why was that sat there on the market also so cheap? And I think the reason was people were not looking in that area. People for commercial buildings, they want something that's ready-made. And this needed far too much work doing to it. They just want something that you can move into, fit out and run their business. And the resi market, they weren't looking there. So I thought, oh, maybe there's a little gap. Maybe there's more properties like this. So that's where I'm going to turn my focus. As much as I had no money, I did have a pension behind me. So finding out how to utilise the SSAS were a really big benefit in this area. And the really big one is the fact that it's exciting. I love turning old battered buildings, and there's a lot of fulfillment in seeing them come back to life. And I also identified that I need to be able to offer passive investment. I thought, right, what else I need? If I can just offer a full service from start to finish, it's going to appeal to more people. So I set up, I got the sourcing side of things set up. I were already set up with a team to oversee developments, and then I set up a management company as well. So I got everything in-house, which really helped me attract the investors. So these are all the deals that I've done on Mastermind. I've been lucky enough to partner up with some great people on this, and I'm very, very fortunate to be sharing the stage with a couple of them today. I couldn't be happier. So myself and Tom partnered up on these ones to start with, did a buy, refurbish, refinance on a single let, which were a great way to test our relationship and see where we wanted to go with it. That went full circle, and we rolled the profits out of that into a title split, block of 6 flats that's pictured there. Hugh, again, someone that I'm absolutely delighted to be sharing the stage with, and he's touched on those two projects in a little bit more detail. This one here is a property in York that, again, came through a group of people in the room, the guys from UKPA. I've put this in my numbers as a flip, but we've got a 6-month option agreement in place, so we can figure out planning. There might be, it's got potential to be a HMO, high-end HMO, possibly even service accommodation. There's a lot of options with that, but we've got a 6-month option to get that in place. And then I've also got this one which has been secured, which is a part commercial to resi. Basically, the left-hand side of that picture there is fully up and running as commercial. The right-hand side of that is totally been fire damaged, all sorts, just the stuff that I like. So we're going to bring that to life with 4 flats and 4 commercial units underneath it on the right-hand side to add to what's there. So running a case study that I knew wouldn't be sort of on here. So this one I did with previous Masterminders, Neil and Kerry. I met Neil and Kerry on my Mastermind Accelerator. They went on to do Mastermind 23 straight away after that. And I've been working with them on a couple of projects leading up prior to Mastermind. But this year we secured this one. This is what it looked like on the inside. I had to be very selective of the pictures because a lot of profanities and penises drawn on that building. So I had to edit them out. So if I've missed one, I do apologise. And this is what we're going to do with it. So we're going to turn it into 6 flats, 2 2-beds and 4 1-beds. And just to run you through the numbers on this one. So we purchased this for 120,000. We intend on spending 245 on the development. Finance cost is 40,000. That's actually a finance budget because we're still raising finance on that one, if anybody's interested. But we're hoping the end value is going to be 540,000, which will allow us to release 405,000 at a cost of 1,500 per month for the mortgage. Other costs I've put in at 10%, 340. It doesn't include management, but I'm sort of both sides of that, so I left that one out on this. And the monthly rent, 3,400, which will give us a monthly profit of 1,510, which again, if we stick to the financing budget, that again should be another no money down deal and an infinite ROI. Really quickly on this one, Hugh's already showed you this one. So the picture in the middle is where the fire happened. And again, this one had been sat on the market for quite some time. And I can see why it looked horrendous. All the ceiling had been taken out. You could see right up to the rafters and all the roof, and everything was just blackened. It did really look bad, but I thought, well, has anybody actually checked the extent of what that's what it's done structurally? And no one actually had, and it turned out that there were actually no structural implications. So again, great. We're ripping it to bits anyway, so we managed to pick this up, as Hugh said, for 85,000. And these are those rooms now. So as the rooms that you can see on there, they're what they are. I'd love to be showing you finished and professional pictures, but we're still in the staggered stages, and there's a couple of others in the interiors. And Hugh's already showed you that, so I'm going to skip right ahead to my Mastermind Summary. And this was really emotional putting this together, actually, given what I've been through. The total GDV of everything, once it all goes full circle, will be 4.2 million. The total equity profit is over $1 million. The flip profit, which is the York property, that could turn into more of the numbers above, but I've put that in for a flip for now until we figure out what we're doing. Another one-off income is 130,000. In the first 6 months setting the sourcing business up, that turned over 40,000. And I sold a property, which were 90,000, which that was sort of massively important for paying off the things that I discussed at the start. And then once this is all up and running, the ongoing cash flow generated will be 15,800 per month. My joint venture split of all that is on the right-hand side there. Then in addition to that, as I mentioned there, there's a sourcing business, and I've also got a lettings business, which is now covering office costs and the staff. My key learnings from all this, when I started out in property, I didn't think I had any transferable skills. I was coming from sport. There's nothing, I couldn't even hang a picture straight at the time. So I think there's nothing I've got sort of to bring to the table there. But what I've realized over the last couple of years and through the mastermind process in particular is being successful in business is very much like what it takes to be successful in sport. You need to create the right team, get the right people around you. I've partnered up in a business sense with a number of people to do this, but I've got a great team behind me on site, the build team, the solicitors, all that kind of stuff, the people in the office at the lettings, the girl that I work with on the sourcing, like everybody comes together and pushes me in the right direction. Learn, practice, execute, and review. That's what we used to do on a weekly basis. So we'd learn about what opposition we're going to be playing at the weekend. We'd then be out on the training ground practicing. We'd then go execute on a weekend on game day. And then we'd sit back down on a Monday morning and we'd review that, what went right, what went wrong, what can we improve. And it's very much what I take into the property stuff as well. Fair enough, I'm always in rooms like this, so I'm always learning, I'm always trying to grow. Practice and execution is probably the same thing in property. You're learning as you go, but then every time I come to the end of a project, I'll always review it, what went right, what can we do better. So I try to model that going forward. It takes dedication, commitment, and patience. I thought I'd been in property quite a long time. 7 years seems like a really long time, but when I sort of put that aside of what it took for me to get where I got to in football, it's nothing really. So you've got to sort of be willing to put in that dedication and commitment, and then you've got to be patient in doing that the results will come. You've got to have passion and excitement. I'm very, very passionate about the projects we're doing. I'm very, very passionate about the people that I'm working with. And I'm excited about where this is taking me in the future now, which has not been the case for quite some time. Coming down on the downward spiral coming out of football, it's tough mentally. You're not quite sure where you are. Football's all you know. But I've now got this thing that I can chase after and be ambitious about. And you need all that because you've got to show up even when you don't feel like it. There's been days where you look out on the training ground and it's peeing it down in rain, it's cold, you're tired, you think, I can't be bothered today, but you've got to get out there and get it done. And it's exactly the same in following the process in whatever you're trying to do if you want to achieve anything. There's just a few final thank yous. There's obviously the people in the room. There's Hugh, there's Tom, who I've partnered up with, and without their support, wouldn't have been able to achieve this. There's people outside of Mastermind, like Neil and Kerry, that I also managed to partner up with. The guys that help me in the lettings and the sourcing and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's every single person in this room. In some way or another, someone's actually inspired me or helped me or whatever it is, or I've gained the knowledge from the team that put this amazing event together. So for me, it is just, honestly, just a massive thank you. And that's me. I'm Martyn Woolford, and I hope that was of interest.
I do hope you got massive value from watching this YouTube video. I'd encourage you to click on the link below to come and do the online training with me. And I've got another video lined up for you, which I think is also going to be really useful that you should watch once you've registered for the online training with me. So invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you very soon.